together 8 to 10 things, depending on time,
Okay.
that I think people can do right now this year to significantly increase their income. Okay. Number one, I talked about last week. You've got to get your sphere of influence and either mail or email or call every single person with what we have in the market advantage. How can I help you this year? That's a shortcut to going to 100 functions, belonging to networks, sending mail out, prospecting, cold calling. If you will just make a list, if you will just make a list to everybody that you have ever known that's in your sphere of influence, and guarantee yourself that you will get that out there. And when you see the list, home improvement, appeal your property taxes, send them a link. Renovate, downsize, relocate, invest. You will be swamped with responses. Because compare that to somebody actually advertising, when you're ready to buy, sell a home, give me a call. That happens every 10 years. People have ongoing needs, but by inserting yourself, you get referrals from everybody they know that's moving this year. So that's point number one. That is if you've all recovered from the bleeping. Okay. Okay. Now, number two, as was just said by Mrs. Mulhern, the whole idea of getting that lifestyle plan, no, but said by Allie rather. Thank you, Allie. Getting the real estate and lifestyle planning guide. Again, what we're talking about is not just having a sphere of influence, but influencing your sphere. Okay. And so how are you going to, so let's put it this way. I may not be right, but I'm convinced. How's that soup, Jacqueline? Good? I may not be right, but I'm convinced that a very small percentage of agents in the industry have ever sat down. And I've always liked to say, like Socrates once said, a life unexamined is not worth living. I believe a career unexamined is not worth having. And the most successful people, they're obsessed with this industry, as I am, as Dennis is, as the Mulherns are. And so I would ask, but I think a very small percentage of people have ever sat down and gone through a level of rigorous introspection where they're asking themselves specifically, and this all ties into Chris Stewart's IQ system, what can I do to better influence people about real estate? What can I do to gain more influence? And there's nothing, in my opinion, that you can do that's more effective than getting the real estate and lifestyle planning guide out there with the cover letter or a note from you. Okay. And as I've said for years, I want to see a day when instead of real estate agents unilaterally sending out thank you notes, that they start receiving more thank you notes. Because doctors don't send out thank you notes, they receive them. And so get that real estate and lifestyle planning guide out to everybody in your sphere of influence. Again, it's not too late into the year. Okay. It's not too late. Thank you, Jacqueline, for that. Belmont Heights office, and that's wonderful. It's not too late into the year, in the second week of February, to declare what your resolutions are going to be, what your real estate resolutions are going to be for the rest of the year. The third thing is this. So here's a question to ask. And I'll ask you, Dennis, okay? As the leader and the spokesperson for your fantastic organization, do you believe that in the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to have either more or less expired listings?
We will have more expired listings.
Okay. Are they starting to mount right now?
Not really, because there's still
Not yet.
shortage of inventory, but there will be sellers who will push the chips in higher than they should be.
And not only that, if we don't, we will witness for the first time in the history of the world the absence of cycles. So all cycles come to an end. And so all of you right now, I believe, or some of you, you need to become more strategic and start planning on what your expired listing strategy is. How you're going to track them, how you're going to engage them, and what value you're going to bring to them. Okay. So because we don't have, and I don't have the pleasure of engaging each of you and all of you every other week or every month, I want to share some things that I've very much crystallized over the years that may not have extemporaneous value, but may have value a little now and enormous value later in the year. Because I want you to start thinking ahead of the game what your strategy will be for expired listing home sellers. Okay.
And
Somebody saying something?
I think they're muting themselves.
Yeah. Short of making sure you bring your buyers to homes that are going to be expiring, and short of, okay, which nothing wrong with being strategic. You don't want to waste people's time, but if it's a legitimate home, and short of doing mailings on streets with a disclaimer where they may be expired, disregard if your home is whatever, you've got to start thinking. Because for example, if there are, say, 5,000 homes in the market, those 5,000 homes, if 1,000 end up expiring in the next, or 10,000 or 100,000, if they expire over the next year or two, those 1,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 homes are more valuable to every person on this call than the 4.4 billion people that go to the internet, than the 2.4 billion people who go to YouTube, than the 500,000 people who go to Instagram and watch stories. Because you can have more influence on homeowners in your city, town, or county than you can on the rest of the 7.7 billion people who go on the world, and more than half go to the internet. So you've got to start thinking that. Now, so therefore, what do we have for, so number one, do you have any expires now, Dennis?
Yes, there are
Okay,
some
so let me spend 4 or 5 minutes, because by covering what I think you should say to expireds, I also think I'm going to strengthen your understanding and your internal value regarding marketing, okay? And so, number one, you must resolve in your own mind why homes don't sell. And you've heard me cover this before a little bit. If you have privately concluded or have told yourself that homes do not sell because they were overpriced, you are basically undermining a major part of your future success. Because if you even tell yourself that privately, you can't be the doctor to the sick patient, because you don't have you have not done a sophisticated enough diagnosis. And because you have not done a sophisticated enough diagnosis, you cannot properly, prescribe solutions. There's only, so therefore, what's the diagnosis? The diagnosis is that there's only one reason why a home does not sell in California or anywhere in the world. That reason, and that unilateral reason, is that the only reason why homes do not sell is because they were not effectively marketed. Because price is part of marketing, but marketing is not part of price. And I said some of this last week, but now we're getting into categories of making money this year. So we're going to be more refined in what we focus on today. So if you have concluded that homes are sold because of price, which is convenient because the industry came up with that as the uber ultimate reason, because that allowed the real estate industry to be so simple and not require skills other than that of an appraiser. Because if the only reason a home does not sell is because of price, then that means that the only reason a home does sell is because of price. And it renders everybody in the industry as an overpaid appraiser. But the reason the industry, even though there were the 4 P's of marketing, price, product, placement, and promotion, the reason why the industry jettisoned 75% of these P's is because it enabled the industry to blame homeowners exclusively for why a home didn't sell and never take any personal blame. That's why I've never heard in my entire career anybody ever say, our homes aren't selling because we're doing a horrible job of marketing. I've never heard that. I've never heard an agent say, the home didn't sell because I stink at marketing. Has anyone ever heard that? No, we've never been the reason for any home not selling. A doctor may botch the surgery. An athlete might drop a fly ball, but isn't it great that we're in an industry where no one's ever made a mistake? And then we wonder why we don't get credit enough for what we have to do to market a home when it does sell, is because we shift all the blame to the homeowner when it doesn't sell, because they didn't capitulate to our infallible pricing wisdom. And then we end up with this attitude, hey, you can have 5 dead bodies in the basement, but if you lower the price enough, somebody's going to buy it. See, it's all price. As opposed to what can we do, as if no other agent in the world could have marketed that home at that price. Because then that led us to the unbelievable value-killing assumption that the market determines the price, which every coach still teaches, astonishingly, amazingly, which strips all value out of every realtor. Because if the market determines the price, if the market determines the outcome, then you're not a real estate marketing specialist, you're a transactional facilitator. Because you're not required to put a price on a home. And if you have 50 different agents, you can have 50 different prices. So you have no value in that. Your value is in the marketing, okay? So all of this collapses into what you say to expired listing. So let me give you the script of what you could say to an expired listing. Dennis, play along with me and just be real. Say, Dennis, hello.
Hello, Allan. How have you been?
Good. Hey, Dennis, I'm calling from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, California Properties, and I was just told that we can't show your home anymore. And I was wondering, you still want to get your home sold?
Absolutely.
Now let's stop right here. Some of you may think, oh, it's not that easy. Oh, they're not going to say that. That's because of your tone. First of all, did I sound confident?
For the most part, Allan.
Yeah. Did I sound conversational?
For the most part, Allan.
Okay, great. I'm not asking you as the homeowner. I'm asking you to support me with your agents, Dennis. What's this for the most part stuff? Anyway, okay. Now, so here, it's like somebody came up to me once and said, Allan, let me ask you your question. You're relatively intelligent.
Yes. For the most part.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, but I said, hey, at least, anyway, but the point is this. If I didn't come across as confident, let me tell you, I am confident. I'm beyond confident when I'm calling expired listing homeowner. And when I'm saying to them, and listen to the tone of my voice. First of all, do I sound like I'm scripted? No. Do I sound like I'm nervous? No. Hi, I'm calling from the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, California Properties, Dennis. And I just was told we can't show your home anymore. Just don't want to get it sold.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I specialize in representing homeowners whose properties have not sold that I believe should sell. Let's stop it right there. Is that better than saying, I specialize in representing homes that are never going to sell, never going to sell. How you doing tonight, Dennis? No. So I specialize in representing homes. Although if you take my theory, the opposite, you would say something like this. Hey, everybody says no one can sell your home. Okay. Okay. Whatever. It's a dump. I don't think it is. Let's get together. I have a better chance than somebody doing through a stupid little script. Now, the next point is this. Dennis, by
Yes.
the way, did anybody tell you why your home didn't sell?
No, they did not.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, there's only one reason why a home doesn't sell in Whittier, and that's because of ineffective marketing. What I'd like to do is I'd like to get together with you if you still have an open mind about different marketing ideas. And do you have an open mind?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to get together with you and show you how we can upgrade the marketing, especially because you're on a beautiful corner lot. What's a good time to get together? Are you going to be home tomorrow night at 8 o'clock?
I'm available tomorrow at 6, or is 8 better for you, Allan?
Okay, I'll see you at 8 o'clock. I'll see you at 6. Now, let me say this. Now, when I said I'll see you at 6, can anybody think of anything that Dennis could possibly come up with after that point? Anything he could say? Can anyone think of anything he might say?
Anybody? You can go in the chat, you guys.
Sandy, Deborah, Allie, Ruby?
I would say, Allan, Dennis might say something like, well, how much are you going to charge me?
Okay, now that's a great question, but here's the problem. Who's Amanda asking? I'm off the phone. Okay, because I'm confident. I'm not asking for double and triple permission.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my attitude is this. Everybody I talk to, they may be a tiger on the phone, but they're a pussycat in person. So I'm saying, do you still want to get your home sold? Oh, yeah. Okay, great. Do you have an open mind about different marketing ideas? Do you know why every person I ever asked said they do? Because who do you think they blame for the marketing? The agent. So I'm basically saying, are you willing to blame your agent? Do you still have an open mind about different marketing ideas? Well, yeah. Great, let's get together. You're going to be home tomorrow night at 8. Well, I don't know. Well, how about 7? Yeah, I'll be home at 7. Okay, great. We'll see you then. Because I'm not calling somebody where there wasn't, God bless them, a death in the family as a funeral director or something. I'm not calling as a pool repair company and they don't have a swimming pool. I'm calling to somebody who desperately needs their home to sell, who's been weakened, who the lack of sale of their home has served as kryptonite. They're on their last leg. They're looking for strength. They're looking for resolve. They've been listening to the lame excuse of their agent for the last 6 months. And now they're meeting with somebody with energy and confidence who's not going to get off the phone until I get that appointment. Because I see this as a game, even though I'm very earnest and professional. And the same way it's a game when somebody unfortunately calls me, because it's the reverse. When somebody calls my home, okay, and says, hi, Mr. Dalton, this is not a sales call, it's a courtesy call. I always say, I'm very sorry. All I take is sales calls. I don't have time for courtesy calls. If you've got something to sell, let's hear it. I don't take courtesy calls. In fact, I got to go. Why don't you do this? Why don't you give me your home number and I'll give you a call at home tonight? Anyway, and so I'm prepared on both ends. I'm prepared to receive calls. Yes, is Mr. Dalton there? I don't have a son. Do you want the son or the father? The son. I'm sorry, I'm the father. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm the son. But anyway, so I'm prepared to receive calls and I'm also prepared to make calls. But listen to the beautiful language. Has anybody told you why your home didn't sell? Realtors have never asked that because why do you think realtors think it didn't sell? Overpriced. So they're not going to embarrass and humiliate somebody because that's one of the 4 ways to demotivating. Okay, so they're not going to do that. Okay, so has anybody told you why your home didn't sell? The second thing, are you still open-minded about different marketing ideas? And you can interpret that as do you think your agent screwed up? Are you still, excuse me, sir, are you still open-minded to different marketing ideas? Well, I guess. Okay, great, let's get together. Now, what if they say, well, how come you didn't sell the home? Don't lie. Don't say, oh, because it wasn't sold to me, or I only saw my own listings, because this is some of these coaches' scripts. Tell the truth. I didn't sell the home because I didn't have the right buyer. But the bigger question, Dennis, is that why didn't one of the other 12,000 agents have the right buyer? And I know the answer, because it was ineffectively marketed. Because we know that since price is part of marketing, we may have to adjust the price. But I'm giving an Uber answer, and I'm being the truth, and I'm not violating my integrity in my inner beliefs. Okay, and then I might say this. In fact, I've been dying to call you for weeks, Dennis, but I couldn't call you till today because of our code of ethics. So now it looks as though you're not just Johnny on the spot. Now, what would you say? Now, Dennis, say this, Allan, you're about the 10th person who called me. Go ahead.
Allan, you're about the 10th person who has called me.
Geez, I'm sorry to hear that, Dennis. Let's get together so we can put an end to that. Are you going to be home tomorrow night at 8 o'clock? See, 99% of people that are coaching people on what to say, they've never even called an expired. I called all the expireds to my company for 20 years. And we're talking about New Jersey, like I said, was anything okay? Remember the little joke at the end of dinner? Okay.
Yeah. Did you ever call
so that's go ahead, Dennis.
Did you ever call Snooki?
No, I never called her.
I'm trying to keep a sense of humor for the group. So.
No, I'll give you the sense of humor. You want the sense of humor? I'll give you the sense of humor.
Well, we paid for the sense of humor, Al.
No, I'll give you the sense. I'll give you the sense of humor. Okay. And this just shows you how much of a joke it was to me. And this will also show you how little ethics I have. Okay. Because here's the call I made. Okay. Before I was Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. So no one has to worry. I'm not calling expireds anymore. I was calling the expireds, and this is past the what is it called? The time period.
At the expiration date of the listing?
No. For a crime.
Oh, the statute of limitations?
Yeah, this is past the statute of limitations.
Okay.
So I was calling all the expireds for the company, and we had 32 offices. So I go to different offices.
Yes.
Every week, a different office. So I get to one office. They've got me on the speakerphone. They're all having pizza. They're enjoying this. I'm enjoying entertaining them. They're getting appointments. They're lining up to get my appointments. And then we run out of expireds to call. And then somebody gives me an expired number. And it was a people. They were in Upper Saddle River, New Jersey, a $2 million home. And I already had, the week before, called them from our Saddle River office, and I had secured an appointment. But I said, here, let me call you so you can have some practice. But I wanted to make sure I wouldn't get the appointment. So I did this at the end of the night to entertain them. The people called the phone. Now, my daughter went to the University of Pennsylvania, and the wife and husband, the woman, the owner, went there as well. And when later we talked about that. But anyway, so I called them like this, Dennis. So I had to disguise my voice. So I called them and said, yes, Mr. Warnick, hi, this is Joe. I'm calling from Murphy Better Homes and Gardens, and I want to sell your home. You got a beauty there. Now this guy was like an investment banker. You've got a real beauty there, Joe. Yeah. What do you want? Yeah, I want to sell your home. Come on, it hasn't sold. I can sell it. I can sell anything. He goes like this. Well, have you sold any $2 million homes? No, but no one else has either. Okay, give me a shot, because I figured it out. On a $2 million home, my commission would be breaking 120. I think I'd make about 40 or 50,000 bucks, and I'll be willing to work full time. I'll stay at your house. I won't leave till it sells. That's all I'll do. I won't focus on anybody else's home. I'll go everywhere. I'll go to every office in the thing. And it started to impress them. You know what? This is very interesting. Okay. So I had to talk him out of it. Okay. I had to talk him out of it. 2 nights later, I met with him. I had a nice, beautiful Brooks Brothers suit on. I was the president of the company. Okay. And I get in there. My kids were at Princeton and UPenn. I had a multi-million-dollar home. I walk in there as a pillar of society. And the first thing he said is, Allan, thank God, after they heard me speak, thank God we have you. You are not going to believe the call we had 2 nights ago, okay, from somebody else in the industry. Now, the only reason I'm willing to compromise with little respect you may have for me is to make this point. Somebody once said 99% of success is showing up. You can almost say anything. You just have to be confident that you're going to get the appointments, and don't take no for an answer, because the average home in the country is 240 and yours is 2 to 3 times higher. There's so much money at stake. Don't be nervous. Be respectful, because I never said anything disrespectful. Just that I was, crazy, momentarily crazy. I lost my sanity there for 5 minutes to entertain my colleagues because they had sit there for 2 hours and I loved them. Okay. And I ended up doing a great job for these people, but make those phone calls and use those concepts. Okay. The only which all emanate that the home didn't sell because of ineffective marketing. It's almost impossible for any home seller to resist inviting you to meet with them if you say those 4 things. Has anybody explained why your home didn't sell? There's only reason why a home doesn't sell. Are you still open-minded about different marketing ideas? I'd love to meet with you and show you how we can upgrade the marketing. And if they say, how come you didn't sell it? And then I've been really looking forward to calling you for weeks, but I couldn't call you today because of our code of ethics, which now sounds as though you're ethical as opposed to you're badgering people. And then go to the learning center, learn the home marketing system, bring materials, have points of difference, show them how you use AdWorks, because you're tracing where people are moving from and to like that. You'll get every single listing. Don't take expired listings off of your plate. Now let's move on to FSBOs. Should I cover FSBOs, or are there not enough of them?
I'm going to say not really. There's less than 1%, very small percentage of FSBOs.
Okay, if anybody on this call wants to do FSBOs, I'm going to give you my email address.
Yeah.
Allan, Allan, Dalton, Dalton, at hsfranchise.com. Or we can also, Dennis, set up a special follow-up meeting for anybody in your company that wants to deal with FSBOs and expires, but especially FSBOs now. Okay, now let's move on. Okay. Now let's talk about closing buyers. Let's talk to the selling side. Okay, on the selling side, number one, you have to, the real estate agents have spent much more time, including myself, focusing on what to say to home sellers to impress them than in what to say to impress home buyers, without question, okay? For every time anybody's ever talked about a buyer presentation, there's been a million conversations about listing presentations. As a result, one of the biggest misuses of professional time is the time wasted by real estate agents not being able to determine almost automatically the likelihood that somebody's going to buy. That becomes a time management killer and a time killer. So we're gonna focus on this right now. So never again will you spend weeks or two with a buyer only having to them to tell you that they've decided they're gonna wait till the fall, or they're gonna wait a year. Nothing changed in that last few weeks. You just were not aware until 2 weeks later what their true intentions were. And you can never find out what their true intentions are by so-called qualifying the buyer. And speaking of qualifying the buyer, I suggest this language. Instead of ever saying, we got to qualify the buyer, say this instead. We first need to establish your purchasing power. Establishing one's purchasing power is very respectful. Qualifying people is very demeaning. And I'll guarantee you, executives especially don't want to hear somebody ever use the words, let's get you qualified. Let's see if you qualify, okay? Now, let's take it down to some things with the buyer. Number one, before you ever show property, you've got to shrink the inventory. Even as a buyer agent, where your fiduciary responsibility is to the buyer, because the classic definition of agency is you and the buyer or seller are one and the same. But if you don't begin by shrinking the inventory, especially in metropolitan LA, in the southeast and southwestern parts of or southern parts of the LA and LA County, you are going to be on a fool's errand a lot of the time. And you have another problem. Nobody ever came to New Jersey on vacation and decided while they were there, they'd look at homes. Never happened, okay? Because they don't want to have to go through the oil refineries and so forth and so on. Okay, although it's funny, when I was growing, and I love Long Beach, but when I was growing up, I'll never forget, I was in college and I was in Boston, and one of my friends said to my brother, I'm being transferred to Long Beach, California. And I thought that everything in California was like Laguna Beach from the pictures and Malibu Beach. And my brother said to him, if you're going to go to Long Beach, California, you should move to New Jersey for a year to get ready. Okay. But the point is this, but nobody wants to, and I love Long Beach and I love New Jersey. I told you, I wrote the video on New Jersey, but people do have stereotypes. And the stereotype people have of California is a place that someday they dream of moving to. So they're more likely when they're visiting to look at homes. When people visit in New Jersey, no one ever looked at homes. So you have an added challenge there, how to determine right away the level of seriousness. Am I making sense, everybody, with this? Okay, good. Okay, so now, what language do you use? So first of all, you shrink the inventory. And you say something like this. Based upon what you're describing, because first of all, almost no one can ever afford what they're describing, okay? Because almost everybody has a, champagne taste with a beer budget. And especially if they're coming from the Midwest to Southern California. Well, we want a big backyard, okay? We want 5 bedrooms, we want this, we want that, okay? We want an acre, we want 2 acres. Well, move back to Ohio. But here's the point. So how do you use language? Based upon what you're describing, and based on my extensive knowledge of the market, there's 2 or 3 properties that come to mind. Let me check if they're all available and if we can set up some appointments. If people think there's an unending array of homes to decide upon, they no longer are looking at homes to buy, they're looking at them to compare. And the more people see, the more they have to compare, it shrinks the likelihood that in other words, if you had to have somebody who was being relocated and only had 2 days to find a home, or somebody had weeks or months, who's more likely to ever buy? The person who's got a couple of days. So you've got to create that. Now, after you show them the first home that you think is best suited for them, and let's say they walk through the property and they seem to like it, what then do you say? Now, because we're not interactive here and we can't be as lively, okay, or engaged as if I had the pleasure of being at one of your offices or at a company meeting, let me tell you what most agents tell me across the country when asked, what do you say? There's a list. A lot of people say this. So what did you like? That's one of the most negative things you can say. Dennis, are you married? I can't hear you. I can't
Yes,
hear you.
Alan, I am happily married.
Okay, that's great. Your wife's gonna
I
say,
don't know
why
if my
did you
wife's
need-"
happily married, but I am.
No, that's good. It's like my sister once, she says, Alan, I can't get, I'm having trouble. She ended up marrying a great guy. She goes, I'm having trouble meeting the right guy. I said, yeah, because you're looking for Mr. Right, but Mr. Right's not looking for you. But anyway, we love each other. That was a joke to her.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yes.
hey, can I tell a little joke? I would never, my 3 daughters say I'm a feminist. But
Wow.
you could revert, you could put this either way. This may sound sexist, but I don't think it is. Because a friend of mine, when I was in the insurance industry, I went to this house many, many decades ago. And the wife of my friend, they were married a year. And she said in front of me, Alan, I thought Dennis was well off before I married him. And my friend said, Alan, I just didn't realize it. Anyway, okay.
I get it.
Okay, no one else laughed. None of the women laughed. That could be either way. You could use that either way.
I understand.
Anyway, but here's the point. Here's the point. Would you want somebody to say to your wife, what's your wife's first name?
Rosemary.
Rosemary. Would you want somebody to say, Rosemary, what do you like about Dennis? No, because it suggests this thing she doesn't like. What do you like about living in New Jersey? What do you like about California? See, that's actually negative. Some people will say this. Would you like to make an offer? That's too premature. Sounds like they're desperate. And plus, if you go buy clothing, if you go to a clothing store, no one says to you, would you like to make an offer? It's weak. Okay. Number 3, people say things like this. This is unbelievable. Will your furniture fit? Yeah, my furniture will fit in almost any home in the state. We've got a small kitchen table. We've got a small bed. What does that have to do with the price of tea? Because you're manipulating me. You think I'm going to fall for this nonsense of where you're nudging me with this little stupid trial clothes? Would your furniture fit here, Alan and Carol? Are you serious? Now, what did you like? What didn't you like with your furniture? But now, no matter what they say, let's say that a person, now, so what should you say? Here's what you should say. Every time you show a property for the first time that the buyer seems to like, then it's based upon what you've seen thus far. Now, why do you think I'd say based upon what you've seen thus far? Because what nerve the industry has that somebody sees their first home out of 1 million in Southern California, they've been there for 15 minutes, and they sense the agent's kind of edging them on. It's unbelievable. That's why you say, Dennis, based upon what you've seen thus far, no, in your opinion, based on what you've seen thus far, in your opinion, do you feel this home might meet your family's needs? See, you're not closing them. You're asking for their opinion, because language is the clothing of ideas. You're going to lose a buyer forever. You're going to lose all trust if they sense you're actually trying to close me? You can't close me where I'm gonna live for the next 15 years. Are you an idiot? Now, what if the buyer then says this? Because this language is so you're never gonna waste time. What if the buyer then says this? No, it's not for us. Here's what agents say when I ask that question. Well, I've got another home. Or they'll say, well, why? As if they're at the police station. Okay? Why? Or they'll show another home. Or they'll actually say this. Well, what didn't you like? They didn't say they didn't like anything. Gee, I tried to fix you up with my friend. What don't you like about her? No, there's nothing I don't dislike anything about her. I just don't want to date her. I don't dislike him. I just don't want to date him. But look at the negativity the industry is bringing in. Millions of realtors have said, well, what don't you like? Before they can even say they don't like anything. Because obviously there must be something you don't like if you're not ready to sign a contract on this magnificent home. Now, what else do people say? Okay, what don't you like? What do you like? But here's all you should ever say, because that's when people are trying to overcome the objections. Here's what you say instead. Dennis, in your opinion, do you feel, based on what you've seen, in your opinion, do you feel this home might meet your family's needs? No, it's not for us.
Yeah, it might, Alan, for the family.
Okay, great. Okay, it might. Why do you say it might?
Well, there's a few things still need to look at. The backyard. Okay.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the backyard. But hopefully, we've looked at the backyard, Dennis. We've looked at we've shown the whole home. We're standing in the foyer after they've seen everything I can show them. Based upon what you've seen, in your opinion, do you feel this home might meet your family's needs?
Yes, Alan. I think it will fit my needs. The only concern in the backyard is I got to make sure a gardener will do it, because I won't do the backyard. So I won't.
Okay.
Do gardening.
Well, first of all,
that.
That's the easiest objection in a million years.
I know it is.
But I want to make it tougher. But if somebody says that, I'll pick that up later. But a lot of people, what percentage of people buy the first home they're shown?
Not likely that often, occasionally.
So working with that as our premise, but some do. I've done that once. Working on that premise, okay? Working on that premise, based upon what you've seen, in your opinion, do you feel this home meets your family's needs? Most people are going to say no, not really. So then I've got to basically, I can either say, what didn't you like? It does have this. It does have that. Okay. Well, you said you wanted this. Am I stupid? Are you stupid? Or instead, I'm going to professionally.
I think it's a tie on that one.
No, I'm going to professionally meet the objection. Okay, and that's this. Apparently, you have some reason for feeling that way. May I ask what it is? So it goes like this. Based upon what you've seen, in your opinion, do you feel this home might meet your needs? Again, this isn't canned presentation. Language is the clothing of ideas. What's your purpose? You want to find out what they think, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Therefore, you've got to ask them a question, correct? So it goes like this. Based upon what you've seen, but people will change their opinions more than their beliefs. In your opinion, okay, do you feel this home might meet your family's needs? No, it's not for us. Let's go with this path. Then instead of me saying, okay, well, it does have this, it does have that, or even worse, well, I have some more to show you, because that begins the slippery slope. I'm then going to professionally meet the objection with this. Okay, apparently you have some reason for feeling that way. May I ask what it is? Yes, Alan, we're concerned about the backyard. Yes, Alan, the bedrooms are too small. We think the kitchen's outdated. We don't like the neighborhood. The taxes are too high. We think it's too remote. We think it would be too much of a commute. We're concerned about the schools. It doesn't matter with 1,000 things. First of all, let me ask you this. Do you think everybody else was automatically in real estate labeled to even elicit their objection? No. Because a lot of people heard it's not for us, and they're already moving on to the next home, or they're clumsily saying, what don't you like? Or they're saying, well, why? Or it does have this, because they've been programmed that they're going to show numerous homes. And even though they've told themselves there's no such thing as a perfect home, at the very first drop of the hat, when somebody basically says something's not perfect, they're on to the next. So what I'm doing here is that I'm slowing down the process at the first home. And I'm saying, apparently you have some, because otherwise it's saying, I'm so stupid, these homes I'm picking at random. There's no rhyme or reason. Because if you're showing them to any home that they don't like that much, that they want to get right out of there, it signals that you are either misreading what they're looking for, or they don't even know themselves what they're looking for. Therefore, you've got to slow down the process professionally and say, apparently you have some reason. Ask what it is. I never had a person not say yes. Because now I'm going to start. The only way you can have access to people is through their concerns. The only way you can be diagnostic is by asking questions, as opposed to trying to overcome objections. Well, what did you like? What didn't you like? Oh, tell me. The more you tell me, the more I can understand what to show you. That's all weak. Apparently, you have some reasons for feeling. May I ask you this? The bedrooms are too small. Now, this takes us to step number 3. We're now verifying objections. Dennis, if you weren't concerned about the size of the bedrooms, let's say the bedrooms are more to your liking, then in your opinion, now I can intensify the trial close. If you weren't concerned about the size of the bedrooms, let's say that the bedrooms are more to your liking, then in your opinion, do you feel this home might meet your family's needs?
Definitely, Allan.
Okay, great. But let's say they say no, because most are still going to say no, statistically. No, we still wouldn't be it. Well, apparently you have some other reason. Well, we don't like the neighborhood. Well, if you weren't concerned about the neighborhood, let's say we could find a home like this with a bedroom more to your liking and in a better neighborhood. Do you like the floor? Whatever. So now I'm finding more because now what I'm doing is this. Now, if he said, oh yeah, we love the home, but it's just the bedroom. We love this home, but the tax is too high. We love the home but we think the price is too high. We love the home, but we don't like the school system. We love the home, but we don't like the backyard. Whatever the excuse, now you can contextualize by saying this. If you weren't concerned about the size of the bedrooms, if you weren't concerned about the height of the ceilings, let's say that wasn't the case, then in your opinion, do you think you might want to consider this home? Oh yeah, but we have to have bigger bedrooms. Now I've isolated that objection. Then it's the fact that the bedrooms are not as generous as you like. That may be the very reason why you might want to consider this home. And let me say why. Do you like the town of Whittier? Yeah, we love it. Do you like Sunshine Estates? Oh yeah, we love this neighborhood. We've driven by here for years, okay? Do you like the school system? Do you like the fact that there's private schools as well? Okay, yeah. Well, if you were to have all of that, the same floor plan, the same type of deluxe kitchen and modern kitchen, and then have higher ceilings, you'd be talking about Broadbank estates where they've got much larger bedrooms, but you're talking another $500,000. The fact that you like everything else, okay, why don't we see, and let me just say this, and I can appreciate how you feel. This is out of the textbook, feel. But Dennis, I can appreciate how you feel, because a lot of people who first moved into this section of Whittier, they felt the same way. We have doctors, lawyers, professors, people from the entertainment industry living here with big families and small families. So I can appreciate how you feel, because that's originally what they thought. But what they found is that Southern California, okay, is not the Midwest. The kids are not hibernating in bedrooms. These are very active recreational communities where the kids are never even in their bedrooms. Okay, you've got a very large bedroom and you got a beautiful yard with a pool. But we can also look to do things that would cost you a lot less than $400,000. Now, I'm not saying that's a magic switch. But if I go to that and the person says, no, we still wouldn't buy, guess what's going to happen at the next home when I do that? I'm going to say this, Allan, maybe we should have told you this earlier. We think we're going to wait till the fall anyway. Because what I'm doing is that I'm surgically probing, without incurring the wrath of the home seller, as opposed to being a glorified taxi driver or Uber driver, driving people to show houses. I'm using my communication skills, not yelling and ranting like this or hyper, to very respectfully and sensitively work with the person in terms of how they prioritize, how they triage, because otherwise I may never be able to find anything that they're envisioning. Okay, it may not appear in their price range, and they're going to give up hope, and they're going to retreat from the marketplace. Oh, the home is the house costs too much. After I go through, no, because the home costs too much. The fact that the home is priced at this level, that may be the very reason why you want to buy it. And I'll tell you why. This home 40 years ago was on the marketplace for about $50,000. Now it's on for $950,000. If this home was on the market in Omaha, Nebraska for $50,000 40 years ago, it's now worth $200,000. Why would you ever want to invest into something that didn't have high value? The fact that it's high priced is the very reason why you want to buy it. But let me ask you this, if you weren't concerned about the price, is there anything else that would keep you from wanting this home? Now, all I'm saying is this, compare that to, so what do you think? No, it's not for us. Oh, great, I've got some other homes, I've set up appointments. Thanks for letting me show you this. Okay, then to the next home. Oh, we like these bedrooms, but we don't like the kitchen. Well, then I'll take you another home. Oh, we like the kitchen, the bedrooms, but we don't like the backyard here. Then another home. We like all three, but we don't like the street. Then I get back in a day to, oh, somebody at work said we should try out this town. Then we're over that town. Then we're showing 3 more properties. Okay. And it ends up after a week or two, Allan, we think we're going to wait. You can find out in the first 1 or 2 homes, almost with 99% certainty, how strongly they are motivated to buy in the very near future. Okay. And the more that you can basically let them know that these are contextual decisions, they're not perfect decisions, the more you'll accelerate that. Sandy, did that make sense to you? Was that helpful? Elaine, was that helpful? Ruby, Jacqueline? Okay, so was that worth taking that chunk of time? Okay, well, let me say one thing about the buying side. Everything I always say, 99% things that came from me, I don't like to take anybody else's thoughts. But I'm going to make an exception because there's only one thing I ever heard on the buying side that floored me. And it was from my good friend and late and great Howard Brinton. And he either came up with us, or he picked us up along the way with his tens of thousands of agents who gave him ideas. But here's a great thing. When somebody says, Jacqueline, gee, would love to go back and see that home on Grove Street again. Does anyone know what Howard Brinton said to say?
I do not recall. After.
Anybody? Here's what he suggests. Jacqueline, let's not just go back and take another look at it. Let's go back and buy it. Okay. See, that's confidence. Keeping in mind, you can never, no one here has the power to ever have anybody buy anything that they don't want to buy of this order of magnitude. You can do it. People can maybe sell somebody a watch or this off the back of a truck, but you're not going to sell anybody where they're going to live for 10 years because you're a great salesperson. But you can waste years of your life driving people around, exacerbating their indecision and indecisiveness. If you don't know how to professionally communicate with buyers. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the marketing presentation itself. I would like to have everybody in Dennis's company and Amanda's client, a very special client, come to the point in your career that you feel it's almost impossible for somebody to say no to you. Okay. And no one has that gift. No one's born with that gift. In the same way, there's no such thing as a natural born salesperson, just like there's not a natural born doctor, natural born scientist. You've got to develop a skill. It's a craft. But I ask you this question: how would it influence your career if you thought it was, figuratively speaking, impossible for somebody to ever say no to you on a listing or marketing presentation? Would you invest more in your career?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. Would you do more mailings? Would you do more direct mail or whatever? Okay. There'd be no limitation to how much you'd invest. I always like the great example of the behaviorist up there in Seattle, Lou Tice, when he talked about the reticular activating network. And he used to say, why is it that a mother, hopefully a father as well, could cough like you just did, Jacqueline? Somebody could cough. Okay, a baby could cough at 3 o'clock in the morning and the mother would jump out of bed. But two automobiles can collide out in front of the home. She doesn't hear it. Because the brain's been alerted. I don't care if there's an accident in front of the house. But if my baby coughs, I need to hear it. A lot of people come into real estate and because they don't have supreme confidence, they don't alert their reticular activating network in the same way. For example, maybe 10 to 15%, especially men who come into the business with their ego problems, somebody will say this: hey, John, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm in real estate, but I used to be an engineer. Well, I'm in real estate, but I was with the military. I'm in real estate, but I used to be with UPS. I'm in real estate, but I used to be with IBM. That's the same as somebody saying, I'd like you to meet my wife, Alice, and here's my ex-wife, Betty. Okay? Because what they're basically doing is that they're apologizing for what they presently do. And here's what happens. On a Monday morning, a top producing agent comes into the office and said, I think I'm going to get 2 listings from the barbecue I went to. And the people who say, I'm in real estate, but I used to be a teacher, that never happens to me. Here's why. The top producing agent, they go to Staples Center, they're in section 42, and somebody in section 47 only has to whisper, yeah, we think we're going to be selling a home. They hear it. The person who, I'm in real estate, but I used to be an engineer, everybody around them can be talking about moving, they don't hear it. They tune it out. Okay? And if you think that it's impossible for you, for people to say no, you'll knock on doors, you'll call, you'll do more mailings, you'll do more AdWorks. So how do you create that level of confidence? You create the level of confidence by completely disavowing and going into the opposite direction of what the industry, every coach, and every trainer has ever taught the industry what to do. And I know that sounds hyperbolic. And here's what I mean. Would you agree with me that every coach, trainer, broker, and manager at some point in time over the last few years have still told agents that they make listing presentations? That's right. And they're all wrong. But it doesn't matter. When I spoke at the Elite Retreat in Florida, was anyone on this call at the Elite Retreat when I spoke as a demotivational speaker?
No.
I started off by saying this. The top 800 agents in the network, I started off by saying this. Nobody in this industry respects everybody in this room more than I do. And let me tell you why. Everybody respects your hard work, your professionalism, all the people, all the families you help, and all the individuals, how smart you are, how evolved you are. So they all respect you for that. But I respect you at a higher level. And here's what it is. because all of you have done the best job in the industry of employing the world's worst ideas. Okay. And it's amazing how successful you've been, okay, using the word like comps, which is like saying, let's take a look at some comparable children. But as long as everybody's making the same mistake, you're more effective with it. Okay. But if other people were saying other things, you wouldn't be. So let's talk about the listing presentation. Let's talk about making what I think is a marketing proposal that no one can ever say no to you. I'm going to go over all the steps. Number one, never again walk to a front door without first, and I want you to look at me in the camera here if you would, without first stepping outside the house like this. Okay, now what if you did this instead? Okay, be the opposite. Now, what do you think it accomplishes? Because I'm getting, just like in basketball, some of you know I was drafted by the Celtics. In basketball, you do something called 2 lines. You warm up. So before you go to the front door, you've got to warm up. You've got to get ready to go on stage. You've got to tell yourself, this is my performance that determines my livelihood. So before I go on stage, I am getting myself psyched. Every possible thing that I can point out during my engagement, my conversation that I like about the property, the street, the landscaping, the bushes, different types of trees, anything I can come up with. And if the homeowners have to be looking out at me, all the better. That's number one. Okay. And if they think, oh boy, this person's so clever that he came up with this, great. They want somebody clever representing them. If you don't even know how to represent yourself, how can you represent them? Okay. Now, you knock on the door. Don't do what everybody else does. Well, why don't you show me the properties if I was a buyer? That's not their job. You say this instead. Let's take a pre-marketing evaluation tour of your property together so we can begin to determine which of your marketing amenities will give us the greatest marketing advantage. That sounds like I'm there to do battle for them. Well, why don't you show me the properties if I was a buyer? Now, the next thing is this, okay? The next thing is that every single homeowner that you will meet for the rest of your career, when you tour the property with them, every single one, I may not be right, but I'm convinced, every single one of them says the same thing. They point out things they've improved. So what exactly are you going to say? Here's what you're going to say. Allan, we used to have blue slate. We used to have concrete around the pool. We upgraded to blue slate. We used to have sliding glass doors. We upgraded to French doors. I heard that for 20 years. I said the same thing to every homeowner. Wow, that's really going to give us a marketing advantage. Whose idea was that? And every time I said, whose idea was that, I knew I had the listing. Because one of the two people always said they were like jumping up and down like a kid raising their hand the first day of kindergarten. Okay, oh, that was me. Okay, great. That's really going to give us a marketing advantage. I don't know if you did that for resale purposes, but that was very smart that you did that. Because that's exactly what people are looking for today. Now compare that. Here's what every typical Tom, Dick, and Harry are going to say. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, very nice. Oh, you did a good job. Okay. No, you've got to turn each of these into things that they can't ever get rid of you. They have to have you every step of the way. Now, when you sit down, before you arrive, they have what I refer to as a consumer covenant, a seller's pact, PACT. Honey, remember, we're not signing anything tonight. Honey, remember, we're going to offend in the business. So before you go, this is taking place. So therefore, what's your strategy to preempt this? You're not going to hear this from any coach, and I'm not a coach. I'm not in competition with anybody, but I'm just telling you. I know no coach in the country is going to, unless they've heard me, because most of them haven't been in a home in 20 years. And so this has never occurred to them that this is what the real world is. So before you sit down, say, by the way, can I go take another look at the swimming pool? Can I go take another look at the patio? You've got to give them time out of your presence to release each other from the consumer covenant. Oh, I like him. Boy, he's impressive. Geez, I like this guy. Because that's their way of saying, then we can sign up tonight. We can break this pact that we're not going to sign anything. Because otherwise, you can make the best presentation in the world. And if they've said together, we're not signing it tonight, good luck. You've got to give them time alone. If you're dealing with volume, if you have so much confidence, you're going to have so many appointments. Okay, because you're going to say, how can I help you? You're going to do AdWords. You're going to do the lifestyle planning guide. You're going to do direct mail. Now, then after you come back, what's next? You've got to start a conversation. Now, you're going to do something in common. Gee, the weather, the this, the that, you see what's happening in town? Oh, boy, whatever it's going to be, okay? Whatever they want to, oh, I see your kid play soccer, whatever. But by the way, anytime you go into somebody's home and you see trophies, you see plaques, resist the temptation to do what we all do in the rest of our lives. We play, can I top you? Oh, whose trophy, Sandy? Oh, that's my daughter. Okay. She's the captain of a high school soccer team. Now, by the way, just so you know, my two oldest daughters were all Americans. They went to Princeton and UPenn on soccer. So what if I did this? Oh, my daughters were all Americans. They play Princeton and UPenn. I just lost a listing. But people play, can I top you? As opposed to, what position does she play? How's she like her coach? Because the number one question every person asks himself in every transactional analysis is this: do I like the salesperson? And people don't like the salespeople if they're trying, and that's the whole problem with personal promotion and brag books. Okay, it's like saying to a homeowner, yeah, you think you're successful because you bought this home? Wait to hear about me. Okay, it's the whole thing is like a subliminal competition. And so now after you've gone through that, then you go like this. You go like this. Geez, I could talk about soccer and the World Cup all night, but why don't we move into the area for which is the reason that you've invited me to be here tonight, and thank you for that. And that's the sale and marketing of your home. Now, what did you just do there? You guaranteed that never, ever again in your entire career will you ever suffer the indignity and destroy the likelihood that you'll get the listing by actually giving the homeowner the opportunity to say, can we get started? Why don't we get started, Sandy? Why don't we get down to business? We've got time pressure. That's weakness. It's like you go into a doctor's office, you're shooting the breeze. Hey, look, can you get my file out here? Okay, they're preempting your professionalism. And if they are psychologically signaling when the interview or the meeting, not the interview, begins, they're going to tell you when it ends. They're running the ship. They're running the show. You're out of there, okay? You lose all authority and control in the beautiful sense of the word, as in terms of a surgeon controlling the operating room, as opposed to a control freak, which I know some of you are socially concerned about. Okay, so it's a better use of the word control. Now, so now when you go from that, then what's the first thing you say? Don't say what the industry's taught you to say. Never say stupid things like, how are you going to go about selecting a realtor? Because that's basically acknowledging that it's not going to be you. Never say, I'm going to help you. I want to help you get the best price in the shortest period of time with least convenience. Because that's basically telling them what you do instead of asking them what they'd like you to do. So you begin every single marketing presentation this way. Sandy, let me begin by asking you this. Would you like to begin this evening talking first about, Sandy, tonight I brought both some marketing strategies as well as some pricing strategies. Would you like to begin first with the pricing or the marketing? You'll never have anybody for the rest of your career, hallelujah, ever say to you, can we just get to the price? Because I'll guarantee you that's happened to some of you. That's a killer because they're controlling you. They have no respect for you. They're telling you what to do. When you ask them what you should do, you're in control because they feel they're in control. The person asking the questions is in control. If you ever went on to the Tonight Show and asked years ago, Johnny Carson and today, Seth, whatever all these guys are and gals are, if you ever sat on the couch and said to Johnny Carson, so what are you going to do this weekend? You'd never see the show again because you're taking over the show. When a journalist asks a politician, how come you do this? Notice no politician will ever say, well, what would you do? Because they'll be destroyed. The person asking the questions is in control. And people will only respond to you. And you can have supreme confidence if you don't sense you're in complete control. And the way to be in complete control is by setting the stage by saying, tonight I brought some pricing strategies as well as some marketing strategies. Would you like to begin with the pricing or the marketing? And by the way, it's completely irrelevant which you begin with. Okay. Now, let's say they say the pricing. Go to the Learning Center. You've heard me talk about, did I talk last week about how to introduce pricing? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, you sure? The 3 different things?
No, you did not cover 3 on it.
Okay, here's how you introduce. Don't do what the industry's trying you to say. Here's what the industry's trained you to do. Well, I went into the computer. This column here is homes in the market. That would be your competition. I'm saying this mockingly. To some people, this sounds pretty good. This column here, these are homes in the market. Maybe I covered that last week. This column here is days on the market. This is absorption rate. These are listings that have been withdrawn. Okay, these are price reductions. Here's absorption rates. The entire industry has been trained to do that because your brains have been co-opted by software companies. But here's what you've got to do instead, because we didn't ask ourselves the following questions. And stop me if I asked these last week. What percentage of real estate agents overpriced their own home? All of them. What percentage of real estate agents have access to all the data? All of them. What percentage of homeowners have a price in mind before you arrive? All of them. What percentage of homeowners like the data? None of them. What does that make you? The bearer of bad news. What happens to the bearer of bad news? Shoot the messenger. The entire industry has been misguided in terms of how they introduce pricing strategies. They don't even say strategies as price. And they come across as though they're advocates for their research. It polarizes the meeting as opposed to first establishing their consultative guidelines by first tenderizing the home seller. How do you tenderize the home seller before you traumatize them? Here's how you do it. Folks, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, California Properties, provides our home seller clients with 3 distinct pricing strategies. Or you can say, I do. Strategy number 1 is that some of our clients want to price their property. Their strategy is to basically, is governed by the data. They're very interested to make sure their pricing offering comports with the data from a CMA or a market analysis or an appraisal, okay? And the reason that that's the strategy that some people select is because they want to make sure that the property appraises out. They don't want to offend the pricing sensibilities of the buyer or the buyer agent, and some of them have time pressure. That's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2, folks, and as I'm saying this, just think about how most agents are talking about the subject. It's what I just did. Strategy number 2, folks, we refer to as the less is more pricing strategy. Some of our home seller clients, they want to price their property a little lower than the data would support because they either have time pressure or they're not just selling for economic reasons, they're selling for lifestyle reasons. They want to get up to the lake. They want to get near the grandkids. And so they're actually looking for a faster sale. So they'll price lower than the data because they want to create competition. Now, the third strategy I refer to as the retail pricing strategy. Some of our clients want to price their property in anticipation that many buyers will automatically try to negotiate off the asking price. So they want to try to build in a little cushion within reason. Folks, of these three strategies, which strategy seems to philosophically be more in keeping with how you folks think? Now, I'm never going to alienate anybody. I haven't traumatized anybody. I'm not a data mongerer. I'm showing I'm a critical thinker. I'm just demonstrating that I approach pricing collaboratively, consultatively, and first, because I represent you and not the data, together, we have to first arrive at what we think the right approach for you is. And then after that, since I've done no harm, do no harm, okay, like the Socratic oath or whatever, do no harm. Since I've done no harm now I'm ready. Now they're going to say this. Well, what are we talking about, Allan? Can we see some numbers? What's the data? Okay. And now by starting that way, okay, now you've basically introduced, now you're basically introducing data with their permission and with the understanding that you're flexible, you're consultative, and you're able to craft a strategy that's acceptable to them because you're not God and it's not your home. And you're representing them, you're not representing their home. So then I might go to this. Okay. Well, basically, before we get to the data, now that they like me and they trust me, by the way, folks, I'm sure you've both given a lot of thought to the pricing of the property. I'm curious. Okay, and I hope, Amanda, this doesn't give you nightmares at the conference with you and Bob, but I know you've given a lot of thought to this. Okay, what price did you have in mind? And at that point in time, they might say this, well, Jacqueline, why don't you tell me you're the expert? Kate, you're the expert. Mikey, you're the expert. When they say that, don't go for that. Oh, no, again, I have my ideas and I've got my recommendations, but I'm just curious. It doesn't mean it will be part of our strategy. What price, just ballpark, what price did you folks have in mind? Because what I'm doing is here, after establishing my credibility, after showing I'm consultative, collaborative, I'm not saying, let's take a look at the comps. I'm not alienating people. I'm being very, again, consultative. I'm gaining trust. We're deciding. And then when I say to them, come on, I'm sure you've had some thought in mind. I've earned their trust. And at this point in time, they said, well, you know what? We were thinking, somewhere, we want to keep it under 8, but high 7s. Now, let's say you were thinking low 7s. So let's see how we respond to that. When they say the high 7s and you're thinking low 7s, first of all, or they say the high 8s and you're thinking the high 6s, number one, and I'm saying this tongue in cheek, first of all, resist the temptation to laugh. That's the joke. Okay. Anyway, so when they're basically saying, well, we think it should be the high 7s. Now I'm going to ask you this. Do you know exactly how to respond to that? Maybe not, because you may not be asking these very important questions. When they say, well, we're thinking the high 7s, here's what you say. Let me ask you this. How did you determine that price? Put the respectful obligation and responsibility back to them without embarrassing them. And being supremely kind and nurturing and respectful, walking them through something, because they may now find out for the first time that their equity has gone down $100,000. That what they need for their home at Lake Tahoe, they may not be able to buy. That they're not going to be able to have money for their kids or grandkids' tuitions. And we have to be mindful of that. And so then, which is all the more reason we want to do everything to get them the most. So then when they say, how do you determine that? Now they may say this. Well, we know the Joneses' home sold for $750. And we know a home around the corner, we think that sold for $8.25. Now, let me share with you the mistake that many realtors make. Get a load of this one. Oh, no, that's what it listed for, but it actually sold for this. See, that's devastating to people. It's callous. It's as if we have to jump that very second and basically correct them. Okay? Without having a better way of conveying the same thing. When anytime they say the home sold for this, they sold for that, they sold for that, that's the time for you to say this. And so would these be properties that you would, in some way, although I don't think there is such a thing as a similar home, but there are homes that buyers are going to be evaluating at the same time they're evaluating a home, and every buyer's agent is going to be pointing these homes out. So let me use the properties that you selected. Are these properties that you would accept as properties that buyers might be considering when they're considering? Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, well, let's take a look at the research. Okay, at that point in time, you say, yes, that did sell. Yeah, it sold 4 months ago. It was listed for $825. It sold for $750. And this one over here, they'll respect you now, because you're not setting up a 21-gun salute over their mistake and misfortune. And you're showing that it takes you a little bit of circumspection to collect yourself, to break what to them is devastating news if they think that they were going to get more because this home was more. Am I making sense here?
You are.
Okay. So then when you get to the numbers, but you're using this as an opportunity. Well, do you think buyers would be oh yeah, because they think they sold for that. God bless them, the poor souls. Okay, they're wrong, but you got to be respectful and sensitive. Okay, looking at these. Well, let's say, well, this one, yeah, that was listed for $825. It is, but then give them some hope. Although they don't have 5 bedrooms like you. Oh, this one here, that sold for $725. It was on for $790, but it sold for $20. But then again, but they don't have your kitchen. Give them hope. Give them hope. And then basically get into, now may I tell you what I would do if I were you. Now they love you because you know more than they do. This is your business. And then you're going to say things like this. Then you're going to tenderize them further. Well, first of all, folks, I don't want to help you select the highest possible price, especially the market is starting the trajectory is changing. Okay. And I know how much you folks want to get to your kids. First of all, folks, I advise all the homeowners. Well, folks, first of all, I advise all my clients today that if they have 5 or 10 years or 5 years to sell, they'd be better off waiting 5 years, because I think the future of California is going to be unbelievably profitable. Okay. And the price, we're going to have even more people coming here. But if you have to sell within a year, I think you would have been better off selling your home 3 months ago than 2 than 1 more, and better now than 6 months from now. Okay. So I just want to make sure that we completely avoid the stigma of longevity that in your home not selling. Okay. So therefore, what I'm going to be recommending is that we don't look to put the highest possible price on your property. We look to select the highest realistic price. Now let's stop right there and I'll come back to the network here. They want the highest. You want the realistic. That's professional, and that's a comforting synthesis, because you're conveying your why. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that they'll never go to anybody else. The next point you say is this. But by the way, folks, speaking of price, just so you know, you would never not list with me because of price. If you want to go to the moon on the price, I'll go there with you. But I know that's not what you want. That would hurt you. But just so you know, I love this property. I know I'm the best bet to maximize the value. And that's why all we're talking about is strategy. That it's not counterproductive. Now, folks, let me say this. Now this is also when somebody wants to, when you get to a home seller and somebody's asking you to present an offer that's a lot lower than they wanted. Let's say you end up taking that listing at 749 and you think it shouldn't have been higher than 719. And then there's an offer that comes in at 700,000 in 3 or 4 weeks. You might say this, first of all, never say to a home seller, well, oftentimes the first price is the best offer. Oftentimes the first offer, that's horrible, but that's how people are coached. Because it sounds like you're nudging people, you're desperate for a sale, and we're less likely to say oftentimes the first offer is the worst offer. We don't say that because it shows that we're not objective, okay? But now let's say that you have that listing at 779 and it should have been 729 and there's an offer for 710. Here's what you've got to learn. You say, folks, you bought this home 20 years ago for $200,000. It's like you went to Lake Tahoe. You had $200,000 at the playing craps or whatever it is, and you had $200,000, and your chips grew to be $700,000. Here's the challenge you face. You've got an offer for $700,000. Do you take the $700,000 and cash in your chips so you can move to the lake, or do you want to continue taking the $700,000, pushing your chips into the middle of the table, and keep rolling dice to make $20,000 more? I think that your home, I think that if you take the 720, it has a greater likelihood of becoming 750 in the bank than it will on this property. That's if the market's trending that way, because I'm not going to say anything I don't believe. But when you get back to the pricing, what price did you have in mind? How did you determine that price? Okay. You've got to basically say this. Okay. I recommend that we stay under 750. Now, okay, no, we have to go. Can we go 759? Can we go? Okay. We'll put the property on the market at 769. But I want to have an understanding right now. If the property is not getting the necessary reaction within the next month, we're going to have to adjust your shelf positioning, lower the price, because we will have known one thing. If the property hasn't sold, in a million years, it can never be because of the marketing, my networking, or me. It will only be because, and if I can't get you to agree with that now, but now if we go with 769, I want you to know this. I will fight with every fiber of my being to try to bring a price home in that level. I want you to know that. Now compare that. Do you think there's been some agents that have said this? Well, we can give it a try. Well, we can try it at that price. Well, we can try being married. Okay, we can give it a try. Okay. And see, that's why, and what I'm saying is this. I'm hoping you're getting the sense from me that I am so confident that there's no way I can envision not getting the listing. Are you sensing that? Because that's what I felt. And for 20 years, I was on 2 or 3 listing calls a day for my whole company. Now let's get to the marketing. Or have we too much run out of time? We can do that the next visit, Dennis. Where's Dennis?
Allan, this is Susie, Dennis's assistant. He had to step away for a meeting, and I will relay the message on over to him.
Okay. I'm open to everybody. Do you want to do this another time, or do you want okay, we'll do it another time. Have me back, and we'll get deeper into this. And then I'm also going to deal with fee validation, so you never lose it over commissions, price. You eliminate all competition, and you guarantee that they'll never, ever bring anybody else in. If you want. So you let Dennis know if you want that.
Definitely.
Sometimes, hey, listen, sometimes I've done seminars. Oh, I thought that went very well. And then I have the worst ratings in history. Okay, so I don't, you never know, okay?
No,
In
no,
fact,
never.
I'll tell you what I did. I'll tell you what I did. Many years ago, I spoke at the National Association of Realtors Convention, and I was told I had the highest ratings at the convention. The next year, I had the lowest ratings in the history of the convention. You know why? Because I had become the CEO of Realtor.com, and everybody hated it, so they hated me. And for 5 years, I get the worst reviews. So what I did after 2 years, okay, actually 5, but I cut it at 2, but I get people saying things. I took, they had reviews on the sheets. You can't do that anymore because they do everything through the iPhones. You can't make your own reviews on it anymore, okay? And so which I used to love to do, okay? But what I did is I grabbed about 5 of them and I wrote down, Allan Dalton's a scumbag. Allan Dalton's this. I'd like to kill him, literally. And I brought them up to my good friend Bob Goldberg, who's the CEO of NAR. And I said, Bob, I'm here speaking on behalf of your website, okay? And look what I'm getting, because that's what I was getting. But I had to take it to extreme because they didn't mind it when everybody said horrible, lousy, don't get it, what a jerk. So I'm not going to keep having it because then they published them all. They published everybody's ratings. I said, I'm not going to stand for this. If you're not going to stop it, I didn't tell them this. I'm going to stop it. I'll solve this problem in 10 minutes. So I got my team, all with different colored pens, write down swear words, write down death threats, write down this, and bring them back to me. Oh, Bob, can I see you for a minute? We can't have this because this is a reflection on your website. This isn't about me. This is about, and he said, that's it. So for 4 years, I was the only person ever not to have reviews when I spoke there. And so that's my point. So you let Dennis know if you want me to come back, we'll do the marketing. Okay. Or you can see, I'll tell you what I think of him. Bleeping, 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 bleeping.
You were awesome, Allan. You were awesome.
No, listen, God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
We
your
will be in
kind
touch.
attention. And I wish you nothing but the absolute very best.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. We appreciate you, Ellen. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
This is Elaine and
Thank you, Amanda, number one
Thank you,
consultant.
Alan.
greatly appreciated. All right, bye-bye.